Okay, Chardell from Pennsylvania, go ahead.
Good evening. Tonight, I would like to express my gratitude for our website, which offers a variety of instructional, healing, and comforting messages about our Mother, Father, God. Just recently, I had an opportunity to speak to someone I don't know concerning a male issue, and we started talking about God and his angels. I told her she was my angel that day, and she said no one had ever said that to her before. Near the end of our conversation, I gave her the address of our website, plainfieldcs.com, and she was very pleased to have it, checking the spelling carefully as she wrote it down. Thank you, Plainfield, for all you give to mankind and for this service tonight.
Thank you. Linda from Pennsylvania, go ahead.
Good evening. Thank you for the beautiful readings tonight and the hymns. Tonight I am grateful for an opportunity that I had to see the effect on my life since coming to Plainfield Independent Church. I attended the high school graduation of my son last night. It was 3 years ago to this date that I had attended the same event in the same venue for my older son. The only thing that had changed was my understanding of Mary Baker Eddy's science and a new growing understanding of how to apply biblical principles in my day-to-day life. Going out into crowds has been a very, very difficult thing for me to do. I mentioned this concern to my practitioner the day of the event. She reminded me that, quote, whatever was my duty to do, I could do without harm to myself, unquote. Science and Health, page 385. I trusted that I could put myself in the love of God and He would care for me, although I could not imagine what that would look like in this situation. I'm in awe at the experience. The order, calm, smoothness, and timing was not coincidental nor chance. One especially meaningful blessing was the ease with which we found an open place to sit, even though we had come later. This spot made me feel comfortable and was perfect view and met everyone's needs. We had lovely people near us and a sweet, joyous child to listen to. During the evening, I turned to the 91st Psalm to keep my thought quiet and alert. I remembered the importance of seeing the people there through the eyes of God. This experience was a gift to me to feel God's tender care and the power of God's presence right in the middle of crowds. Before this, I could not imagine this possibility. I even made it home to the watch. We got through traffic and the crowds leaving just as if it was nobody there. It was amazing, just was so beautifully smooth. And I'm so grateful for my practitioner and all of those who faithfully pass down this understanding of God so others can have it too. Thank you very much for the service and have a good evening.
Thank you. Okay, Jim from Arizona, go ahead.
Good evening. The healing power of Christian Science is ever with us, and how grateful we are for this. Yesterday afternoon, I found out I was scheduled for a blood test this morning, and as a result from being removed from the hospice program, I was to fast with nothing to eat after 8 p.m. last night. The schedule was to be at the lab at 7 a.m. Before leaving, I called a practitioner from our church early this morning and left a message, knowing that I would not be here to receive a call back. The nurse that was to take the blood asked me how my morning was progressing, and I replied that I was starved. Looking down, I noted that she had already started removing the first vial of blood. I had no sensation of a needle prick or pain. Although this is a simple demonstration of the healing power of Christian Science. I am most grateful for it. Upon returning home, I listened to the message from the practitioner and called back telling of my gratitude. Thank you.
Thank you. Day from Georgia, go ahead.
Thank you. I'm thankful for the article Sincere Desire found on the Plainfield website. It's a beautiful summary of the way that I've learned to pray in this church, to pray for myself and for others with the desire that God's will be done, and to acknowledge that it's already been done by giving thanks constantly. I'm grateful to be learning to practice sincere prayer and to see the results of it unfold daily. I'm grateful for this progress, and I'm thankful to be here tonight. Thank you for the readings and for all of the testimonies.
Thank you. Luann from New York, go ahead.
Thank you. For the longest time, I wandered through life unaware of having any purpose. I was told often that I was worthless and would never amount to anything, so I never put my heart into achieving anything. Then one day the opportunity came to achieve something far beyond my imagination or expectation. I was inspired to build a pottery shop that would uplift others to find themselves in God. Me. How could I possibly do this when I didn't even know who God was? I had an injured spine and a deeply troubled past to contend with. I was in no shape to inspire anyone, let alone build an entire building. I was not even ready financially to take on such a task. Then God led me to Christian Science, as taught here at the Plainfield Church Independent, and my practitioner, whose loving support and teachings have helped me to overcome and be permanently healed from my past troubles. I have been so very blessed. I have learned over these few years that everything is not always as it seems. To find the good and be grateful for it. I have come to realize that I am not building anything, but God is building me to fulfill His purpose. He has not given me this job without preparing me for it, and He has never left my side through any of it. I have learned to trust in Him and lean on Him, and most importantly, obey Him. He has always met my every need when I have turned to Him for help, including providing me with the financial means to continue with the work. He has instilled in me the desire and commitment to keep striving to allow His plan to unfold. This experience has not been without its battles, and at times I have not always been faithful to standing guard against self-will and ambition. As Mrs. Eddy writes in miscellaneous writings, never absent from your post, never off guard, never ill-humored, never unready to work for God. I have always been guided back by the loving chastisement of my practitioner. Every time I stumble, I learn a lesson from it that enables me to move forward in my understanding of God. The pottery shop is near completion, every obstacle overcome. I have found my place, my purpose, and the strength and courage to allow God's will to be done. I am so grateful to have this opportunity to grow and be of use to God. I'm grateful for our Bible studies and roundtable discussions that teach me truth. And I am grateful for the continual prayerful support of my practitioner. I have truly been blessed. Thank you.
Thank you. Jeremy.
This past Sunday marked 3 years that I've been with the church. In that time, God has given me so many things that I would like to quickly list some of them and say how grateful I am for all of them. It would definitely go well beyond 4 minutes if I try to tell you all of them. First, God gave me a place here in Plainfield, and right with it, He gave me usefulness through the opportunity to make use of my prior experience and studies. He's given me the reason to learn more and the wisdom to find what I needed quickly. If he had stopped there, I would have been happy forever, and yet he continues to give me so much more. He has given me friends and the support of a practitioner and all the church members. He has given me a feeling that I belong and that I'm worthy of love. He has provided the tools so that I can go through the day knowing I am right where I should be and doing exactly what I am here to do. He has given me the ability to put all past mistakes and experiences in the proper perspective by knowing that it was a lack of understanding of God that led me to accept the claims of mortal mind. Time has gone by. I've been able to let go of so much shame and regret, and to know that Christian Science is showing me the right way to live and act. He has also given me the ability to see that all past successes and joys came directly from him. I went so long being so certain that it was just chance and bad luck that had held me down so low. Because of that, it is incredibly clear now that as soon as I asked for help, his help, God lifted me up. I am truly grateful that I was so foolish before, because there's no denying that God is the only reason I am here now. He's provided so much material here to read and to study. The Bible, Science and Health, all of Mrs. Eddy's other writings, and every other book this church offers, as well as all the services, meetings, testimonies, and discussions, are just a wealth of inspiration I have barely begun to appreciate and understand. I'm so grateful for all of this and everything else that God has given me. It is a great joy to be a member of this church, and so humbling to be right where God wants me. Thank you.
Thank you. Sharon.
Recently, I got the thought to go a different way to work. And I don't usually go that way, but I listened because I knew it was God speaking. Well, I got to work, and a half hour later, when my coworkers showed up late, they said there was a lot of road construction going on, which was not announced. Well, every morning after that, when the road construction had started, I would say, I can and will be in my right place at the right time as God directs. Father, how should I go? And every day, I never hit, and it was for 3.5 weeks, I never hit a detour or any traffic at all. One morning, they had been working in a section, and I got the thought to go there, which seemed very foolish, but I did, and they had it completed, and I was the only car on the road. There is no mistake. This was God's doing. I am just so grateful for the teaching that I've received that taught me to go to God, ask Him, and then obey. I'm just so grateful for Christian Science practitioner help and to be a member of this church. Thank you.
Thank you. Mike from New York, go ahead.
Thank you. Thank you very much for another wonderful readings tonight and beautiful meeting. I am so grateful for these testimonies that get to hear on Wednesday nights and on the round tables and Bible studies. About 10 years ago when I went to class, I became very good friends with other Christian scientists there, and we used to complain to each other how so many of the testimonies were over lost keys. I've had lost items found through Christian Science, so I am very grateful for that. But what I am so grateful for here is so many wonderful testimonies, so instructional, that have helped me in many different ways, relationships with other people, encouragement from many, many healings, and it's just a wonderful experience, and I am very grateful to God, to Mary Baker Eddy, to Christ Jesus, and all that Plainfield has to offer.
Thank you. Okay, this is Bruce. I got to admit, when I turned on my computer and logged onto our website and started reading some of the material on that, I happened to read the Daily Watching Point, which is a selection from 500 watching points. I just had this flush of gratitude come over me for Christian Science. The watching point talked about, be careful that you don't get too disturbed when criticism comes along, or too uplifted when the praise comes. And for me, it was like an explanation for why at one point in time you could describe my life as an emotional roller coaster. It seemed like when the criticism came, I would just fall apart. But when the praise came, I was so lifted up, I was ready for a crash thereafter. And I realized that after studying Christian Science, and especially after reading Mary Baker Eddy's article in Miscellaneous Writings called Taking Offense, she said that it is our pride that makes another person's criticism rankle. Not the criticism of the others that does the rankling, it's our own pride that makes it rankle. And I had to learn many lessons about this issue of pride, to not get so disturbed over criticism, or to get inflated when the praise comes. And it's something that I still have to watch along, but addressing this issue of pride has put so much more stability in my life and made me more useful to God. So I'm so thankful for Christian Science and the teachings here in this church, because I have to admit, nowhere else in this world did this issue come up with me, but I was suffering so badly from it. I've since enjoyed much relief from that suffering and a higher purpose. What could be more important than to be useful for God? So who wouldn't want to get rid of their pride and avoid all of the problems of stumbling or falling apart when criticism comes, or getting too elated when the praise comes? It enables one to go on calmly through this world and to be useful to Him. So I'm so thankful for that. Mary.
Thank you for those readings. Mrs. Eddy has said that it is important every day to handle the belief of impossibility, knowing that all things are possible to God. I'm speaking a little early tonight because I have 2 testimonies to give that were sent in. The first one is from our newest member from Washington State, and he says that it has been God's gift to find Plainfield and follow His leading to join. My thought is with all of you in this loving community, the structure of truth and love, which is church. It has been a very long time since I have felt that sense of belonging, yet I know it was always there and blessing me. It has been one of those delayed blessings, such as you have written in a wonderful article in the recent issue of Love is the Liberator. I had a wonderful teacher, Richard Mather, CSB, and really it was through him that I began to question church membership way back in those old days known as the 80s. While he remained faithful and devoted to Boston right up to his passing, I always felt that he had grave doubts as to the direction taken by Boston at that time. As a side note, I should mention that I have no ties to his or ongoing association, which has been plagued by its own problems and conflicts, which is simply a further demonstration of the reasons why I severed my ties with Boston in the first place. All of this was filtering down into the branch churches in our area, and as a result, there was, in my opinion, very little real demonstration of Christian Science taking place. The constant competition between local practitioners, sometimes erupting in actual public arguments, replete with accusations of mental malpractice, was shocking, to say the least. It was a difficult time. There were those of us who did make entreaties to Boston for assistance and direction, but with none forthcoming other than condescending encouragement to blindly follow along and not rock the boat, so to speak. It seemed the only viable way was to go one's own way. For me personally, it began a period of drifting, questioning and wondering, and all that comes with it, returning to old beliefs for a while, trying new ones for a while, etc. But truth will not be silenced once it has spoken, and always I came back to my best friend, Mary Baker Eddy, and the solid rock of Christian Science. And it is here I stand. Yet with the healings, the happiness, the trust regained, I still felt a certain need to join my thought and metaphysical work within that structure of truth and love that is itself a haven of support and encouragement for the individual, and a gathered force for the expansion and continuing revelation of Christian Science. I have been working for some time, knowing that divine love would fulfill this need in providing me with every demonstration of support and love I require. And so it has. I give daily gratitude for what I choose to call this healing of inclusion. And I must say that for me, this week's lesson could not be more timely. I join with you in love and a true desire to serve the cause of this truth entrusted to us. My joy is boundless and my gratitude overflowing. I look forward to growth, community, and of course, love. We so warmly welcome him into membership in our church. The next testimony is from Germany. I am very grateful to Christian Science today. I am sharing this testimony for those who might be in a similar condition and not able to speak about such things. When you let your spiritual guard down, slowly things come up which you believe to be easier truths. When my family and friends left to move to the United States, I thought that I could supplement this with a new lifestyle of promiscuity and fun. I did not plan any of this to happen, but it happened because I replaced the life with my Christian Science friends and family with fast music and the allure of sex and being attractive. Since 2007, I was living with the father of my son, whom I had met in 1988. From this time, I was not working in or with Christian Science and did not even have a textbook anymore. The family of friends that I had in the 80s who were Christian Scientists were no longer in my life, and I was not the person I had been. Due to a severe illness, my boyfriend abandoned me, and my human body healed from the medical work, but not my mind, not me. I had become an alien in my own body and began to have a recurrence of a hereditary disease known as bipolarism, which the doctors say cannot be cured. The claim of manic depression is a terrible experience, and it is a burden for those who are around me. A dear friend, a Christian Scientist, took me in and has allowed me to live with her. She has been a wonderful expression of God's love to me. Since I found my way to Plainfield, I work with a practitioner now, and I have been given loving support and encouragement and prayer. I have been given wonderful things to read, and I have learned a lot more about Christian Science. It is truly a journey from sense to soul. My pathway lies before me. In appreciation, I do the readings and translations of the lesson in German each week with help from my friend. The progress has been slow, but at the moment I am grateful for the progress I have made and for all that I am learning from the practitioner and from all of you from the round tables, the Bible studies, the services in which I listen to and attend, and also from your wonderful website. Thank you for being there. I send this with great love.
Thank you. Lawrence from Georgia, go ahead.
Thank you. Tonight I'd like to give gratitude for so much that I've learned through Christian Science. First of all, let me thank the readers for the comforting reading, the hymns, and all the testimonies. Last week, something happened that may help me to put into practice some of what I've been learning. I had just finished an important recording for church, and when it was time to export it, to save it, some window popped up on my screen with an instruction I had never seen before. I know that before I would have panicked, and with the panic, my thought would have all kinds of wrong thoughts coming, thoughts about how I don't know anything about computers. And then, of course, there is, frightening suggestions. But I've learned better. I know now that especially when you're doing something for church, error doesn't like it, and it tries to stop it. And I'm so grateful for so many years learning it through Christian Science that I just need to pause, turn my thought to God, and that He always opens the way. And this is exactly what happened. I just stopped, said, Father, and it's as if something brought something on my screen, which was the direct instruction as to what to download. It was an application that I had to download. And it led me to safely export the recording and save it. This may seem trivial, but it's an important testimony for me because I know how I used to turn to the negative thoughts about myself. And most importantly, the lesson that I have learned that when we're doing something for God, to watch out for the evil thoughts that come just to stop us. I am so grateful for Christian Science because of these things, these experiences. I am so grateful that now I can help others with what Christian Science has given me. It has shown me clearly that nothing is impossible to God and that nothing can stop us from doing God's work. So grateful to be here tonight.
Thank you. Mary.
Hello again. Recently, I was reading from Teaching and Addresses by Kimball, and I read something that reminded me a lesson that we have learned here, and that is to do daily work for our homes. And on page 132 of Teaching and Addresses, Kimball says this: "There is but one household, that is God's household. There is no avenue or channel by which error can possibly enter this household to create a sense of discord, fear, derision, anger, doubt, subtlety, lack, or straitened circumstances. Nothing can enter this household or consciousness to annoy or destroy, for all here is life, and God good fills it." Our home is such an important place. It should be a sanctuary where we pray and study, commune with God. We should have a place in our home, a quiet place to do that. We should put it first, and we should know that every part of our home is filled with the power and presence of God. In this way, we are blessed, and certainly anyone that lives in our home is blessed, as well as visitors. I often like to think of the angels, Michael and Gabriel, that Mrs. Eddy speaks about on pages 566 to 567 in Science and Health. She says the characteristic of Michael is spiritual strength. He leads the hosts of heavens against the power of sin, Satan, and fights the holy wars. And then Gabriel, who has the more quiet task of imparting a sense of the ever-presence of ministering love, and that both these angels deliver us from the depths. Now, what a beautiful thing to realize and to work with, that we can call on these angels. Angels are God's thoughts passing from God to man, Mrs. Eddy says. These angels do fill our homes if we think of it and are aware of it, and we need both. The Michael that fights the wars, that fights the battles, that has that spiritual strength, and then Gabriel that gives us a sense of God's love and of God's presence. And of course, too, as we know that our home is for the purpose of working for God, to do His work better, God will maintain it in His peace and in His love. I read tonight before the meeting something beautiful in Collectania on page 72 where Mrs. Eddy says, "Manna must fall from your lips every day to help some mortal mind for time and eternity." That is certainly what we heard at this beautiful meeting tonight.
Thank you.